The Phillies wasted a big opportunity last night. Doesn't mean the world's coming crumbling down. Doesn't mean we have to blame anybody, but a wasted opportunity. We're going to talk Phillies, Braves game 2, and the Eagles. If we're going to talk wasted opportunities, we got to talk about what the Eagles have to do not to waste a huge opportunity on Sunday. Sunday. Trending in the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front.
And Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. Make sure you do us a favor, even if you're watching on one of the other sites later, go over to the DSM Media YouTube page, hit the like button on this video, the subscribe button, drop your comments. If you're watching on replay, those comments still come through. We greatly appreciate the likes, the subscribes. They help. We're now to 661. That means we're 39 away from 700. That means we're 339 away from $1,000, which is the goal, the ultimate goal, to get this page to a minimum of 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you head over and do that. I am your host, Phil Stiefel, at Beard of Knowledge. We got Dylan Davis sitting here next to me at DylanJD98. We're talking about wasted opportunities and not wasting opportunities on the show today, Dylan. Good morning, and how are you this morning?
I'm good, Phil. A little down, a little sour taste from last night, but I'm sure we'll have a semi-positive message to send to Philly fans today.
Absolutely. I think we could find a way to spin it positively for sure today. The one thing I do want to say before we get into the game specifics is it must be so nice to be a young Dylan. I remember being young Dylan in the 07 to 2011 run, staying up late to watch playoff baseball, rolling out of bed the next morning, ready to roll to the next day of work. But as a 41-year-old man, staying up and playoff baseball, like if it's a regular season game, you can kind of like doze off and not worry.
Oh, yeah. Let the recliner out.
The recliner's not in recline mode. It's upright. If anything, I'm leaning forward and almost falling out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm a little tired this morning. I won't lie, Dylan.
It's a lot of stress on the body, Phil. It's a lot of stress on the mind and the heartstrings, right? Every pitch in playoff baseball. It's been so long since we've experienced it. It's the first time in my adult life that I've experienced it. Every pitch means so much. Every inning. That Cardinals game when the Phillies got down 2-0, I'm like, man, this feels like it's it. Last night, 3-run inning. Felt like it was it. Turned out to be it. So every inning, every run, every pitch means so much more. It's so much more stressful. But that game was over by 10:30 last night. You should be well rested. And
you know how long it takes for me to come down off of the emotion, the energy. It was a quick game. I mean, it was like 2 hours through 4 innings, game 1. Last night, it was like the end of the 5th inning, like an hour had ticked by. If anybody wants to talk about speeding up the game of baseball, watch last night's game right there. But yeah, so let's talk about it. What wasted opportunity, and let's try to find a way to put a positive spin on it. First and foremost, you mentioned before we went on the air, and I meant to mention this before game 1 when we were hyping it up and stuff. The Braves have never been swept this season.
Yeah.
They won 101 games for a reason. They're one of the best teams, defending champs for a reason. They never got swept once this season. So all of us, homerish, biased fans, we had to realize that there wasn't going to be a quick, easy series. We weren't going to steamroll over the Atlanta Braves at this point, Dylan.
No, not at all. And listen, like you said, it was a wasted opportunity because you had your ace on the mound. I know Kyle Wright is a very good pitcher. He had 21 wins this year, but to me, it's advantage Phillies with on the mound. And, game 1, you didn't have your best lineup out there. Now, I know you pressed the right buttons with Sosa and Bierling, but your better lineup is with Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh in it. You do that from the lefties to righties. I get that. But last night, it felt like if you were going to pinpoint pre-series which game the Phillies would win or should win, it would have been game 2. The point is, Phil, the Braves have never been swept this entire season. It's the first time in like 100 years, if not more. I forget what year that they showed last night. And you did your job. There's no style points for which game you take in a split. The whole point of the road trip was to take one of two, come back home, and steal home field advantage back. They did it. It doesn't matter which game you took. And I feel like Philly fans sit here and it's like, momentum back for Atlanta. Well, momentum's a game by game situation.
I'm gonna say that I agree with that philosophy because let's break down game one. It doesn't matter. You split coming home on paper. Yes, it's 1-1. That's exactly the road team wants to come back home with a split. In baseball, in basketball, in any best of 5 or 7 series, you want to get one of those 2 first road games. I get that. But in game one, I know Kyle Wright had 21 wins, but Max Fried's their ace.
Yeah,
in my opinion. They beat their ace. Okay. That takes the momentum. And just as much as we pinpointed game 2 before the series as the most important game with Zack Wheeler going, they had it pinpointed too. And yes, we beat their ace, but they came out and beat our ace.
For sure.
So that kind of negates that momentum of taking game 1 because now the Braves are like, yeah, we just took their ace. Now we have to just get through Nola. And if we can even if we lose to Aaron Nola in game 3, they're going to throw junk in game 4 and then Zack Wheeler again on short rest in game 5. So the momentum and the confidence level by wasting that opportunity last night, it gives the Braves almost an untouchable feel probably in their clubhouse that they've got this.
See, here's the thing with playoff baseball, man. It is such a game-to-game momentum shift. Like you just said it, right? The Braves took the momentum back. Yeah, they took the momentum back. But do you think when the Braves lost game 1 and the Phillies had look at what just happened? The Phillies had all the momentum we were talking about. Braves took it right back. That does not mean the Phillies cannot turn around and take it right back on Friday. And ultimately, outside of the 2 they just threw, the Braves are throwing junk as well the rest of the series.
Absolutely.
Spencer Strider, if he has to throw, has not thrown.
They didn't even say who was throwing yet.
No, I know.
They haven't even decided who's going.
I know. And that is, if he throws, he's probably not throwing more than 4 or 5. And Charlie Morton, who has a great track record in the postseason, has been really bad this second half of the year, and the Phillies have rocked him the second half of the year. So they're not throwing anything that we can't handle as well. I'm just not, I don't know. I still have a very high confidence in this Phillies team because if there's one thing they showed us all year long under Rob Thompson that we talked about constantly on this morning show was what, Phil? Their ability to bounce back, to respond to adversity when their backs are against the wall. Fellas, backs against the wall. This is as close to it is a must-win game on Friday night to really take a stranglehold on this series and have a chance to clinch at home on Saturday. You lose that game, you got to win 2 straight against this Braves team. So Friday night is basically a must-win, and you got the guy on the mound to do it.
Look, I'm not trying to make it sound like that I'm down on the Phillies or thinking the Phillies don't have a chance. I'm just being realistic that, look, the Braves are a damn good team.
Well, they're favorites for a reason. Like, yeah.
Exactly. And look, I have confidence in Nola. I mean, Nola, I said it before, Nola out of anybody in round 1 against the Cardinals impressed me. Because Nola has had a lot of criticism on him, but we haven't, ever seen him in postseason baseball. So all those September struggles went right out the window when he threw one of the most dominant postseason performances we've seen. I mean, that harkened back to Cole Hamels and Cliff Lee throwing dominant postseason games. Kurt Schilling back in '93. So I have confidence that he could do it. But look, Zack Wheeler was super dominant. One thing we will say about the Phillies offense is they waste opportunities when they have guys on base. Bryce Harper gets a double to lead off an inning. We get him moved over. We don't get him home. The Braves got Zack Wheeler, got a guy on base by a hit batter. They got the rally started because they did not waste that opportunity. Last night, and I was texting Jason this last night, that we've talked all playoffs that they've been doing it small ball way, which is not who the Phillies are. The Phillies are home run hitters. They're boomer bust offense. But all postseason, outside of Bryce Harper's 1 solo home run, has been small ball kind of play. Even in game 1 against the Braves, it was all small ball, 7 runs of small ball. Well, last night I saw it. It seemed like every single Phillies hitter was up there trying to hit home runs. Well, they weren't trying to move runners. They weren't trying to just get base hits. Every single one of those guys was swinging for the fences. And let me tell you something. That scares me. If they're going to fall back into their old routine, Kyle Schwarber still has 0 playoff hits in 4 games. Rhys Hoskins, I believe, has 1. Rhys Hoskins will get into his defense in a minute, but, that scares me. So that what that tells me is that if Zack Wheeler gives up 3 runs last night, or say Aaron Nola gives up 2 runs tomorrow night, that I'm worried that if we don't play small ball, we won't be able to stay in the game, because even if you get through 5 innings, that Braves bullpen, some of those guys that they're throwing out there, there's some pretty damn good relief pitchers. So it concerns me the approach at the plate that I saw last night.
So I agree with you. I did not like the approach last night, especially against a pitcher like Kyle Wright, who is a ground ball kind of guy, and he's extremely difficult to get up in the air. However, the Phillies did have success. They had the 3 hardest hit balls in the game last night. Bryce Harper had 2 of the 3. That exit velo of over 100 that all went to the warning track. That were all 380 plus foot outs. Bryce Harper had a 403 foot out. Exactly. So that they're extremely close to that breakthrough pop kind of night, and all it takes is one with this lineup, and all it takes is a base runner or 2 on, and then having that one come up. If anything, I'm worried about the top of the lineup right now, and I'm not really sure what to do about it. And I think everyone kind of needs.
I know everybody's going to talk about it. I know Jason's commenting. You got to get Schwarber out of the leadoff. You're in the second. You're game 3 of the NLDS.
Yeah, look, there's no tweaking the lineup.
You're not changing the lineup. I'm not even thrilled with Rob Thompson playing, gut feel of bouncing Sosa and Stott in and out, and Vierling and Marsh. Look, he pinch hit for Marsh last night with Matt Vierling, and it wasn't a lefty, righty situation. He just did it, and it seemed like almost to a point where it was, let's just throw something out there and see if it works. And Vierling weakly grounds out in that at bat, I believe it was. So it didn't work out. Like, you can't make that many changes at this point. Gene Segura's in the 6 hole, the 7 hole, the 8 hole in the playoffs. Outside of that, your top 5 guys are staying. There will not be one change to the top 5, barring an injury.
And there shouldn't be.
However long the season. It is too late at this point.
But what I will say, after last night's catastrophe, not only at the plate, but at first base with Rhys Hoskins, Kyle Schwarber struggling his ass off. At least Rhys has a double. Kyle's got nothing, except he does have 2 sack flies for 2 RBIs in the postseason. But he's safe. Like, Kyle's here for 3 more seasons. Rhys Hoskins is playing for his career in Philadelphia the next 2 games.
Absolutely.
You can't be a total net negative for your team in the 2 hole as one of the quote unquote leaders in the clubhouse, man. Like, you need to get the bat off your shoulders. Rhys, I don't know what his plate approach is.
So there's two at bats. So it's the Kyle Schwarber strikeout followed by the Rhys Hoskins strikeout. I forget what inning it was, where Kyle Schwarber struck out on a pitch that was 4 feet outside.
8 feet off. Yeah,
it was so far. I was hearing what's the dude's name? Bob Uecker, the guy that's the announcer in Major League Baseball, the movie.
Yeah.
The bit outside. That's how far outside it was. But then the next at bat, Rhys Hoskins took 3 strikes that were dead center of the plate. And everyone's going to talk about his defensive blunder, which probably cost us the game. And
but bottom line, you didn't score a run, so it really didn't matter. But.
Exactly, but still, people are bashing him, trying to run him out of town for that.
Well, he should. He should. It's a semi-routine.
In my opinion, it was a tough play. Anytime you got to go, slide like that.
But that's his fault. I'm pretty sure he took a bad first step on the ball. It's his fault. He had to get down.
Look, he's not a great defense. Look, the whole philosophy of this team was built on defense doesn't matter. So we can't blame him for that play because he's not a great first baseman. He doesn't make that play.
It gets magnified.
30-40%. It gets magnified
when it's just this.
And it gets magnified in the playoffs as well.
Yep.
Look, and that's the thing. If Rhys Hoskins would have followed that up by hitting a 2-run bomb his next plate appearance, we forget about the defensive blunder. We don't worry about the defensive blunder.
If I had to adjust one thing in the lineup, but Schwarber, you're not moving. He's been your leadoff guy ever since Topper, came, got the job over Joe Girardi, right? I would consider at this point swapping Rhys and Bohm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to
Segura,
say
one of the two
I'm
guys.
not going to say it's a bad idea.
I know it's not going to happen. I know
It's not going to happen at this point of the season, and that's the where Rob Thompson is all about pulling these random things that seem to work all the time. For some reason, at the top of the order, he won't do it, and that to me is confusing because Stott should have been playing every day. Sosa he pulled the Sosa card the right time each time so far, but over 162 games, he's not going to pull that card right every single time. The Hoskins situation is the one that he needs to try to flip, but he won't.
That's the more reasonable one, in my opinion, than moving Kyle Schwarber.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with you on that.
It's tough, man. It's a really tough situation.
It really is. I want to ask you something. I've seen this floating around. I called it, and everyone was laughing at it. I called it the Paul Pierce syndrome. When Acuna gets hit by that pitch, crumpled to a ball of pain. Do you think he was sitting there talking with his trainer? I'm good. I'm just gonna this for a while.
So I'm not gonna lie, it kind of pissed me off. Because like we all thought here in Philly that it was a serious injury. Like the way every time they touch his arm and you saw his hand, crumple, and then he's on second base and he can't move his left arm off his right arm off his hip, right? Like he can't even raise his arm at all above his shoulder. But then he stays in the game. Like not just to run the bases, like he goes out in the field. Like you were okay. Like I'm so confused. And miss me with it just stung. No, you got hit with 97 on your effing elbow, and anytime someone touched it, you were writhing in pain. It got a little bit annoying to me, man. Like either get off the field.
Look, I mean, everybody remembers the Paul Pierce situation when he was in pain. He had to be carried off the field or off the court, and he comes back 20 minutes later and starts knocking daggers down and stuff like that. Look, that amount of time threw Zack Wheeler off, in my opinion. And don't tell me that sports teams don't use injuries strategically like that. Just look at
what the Cardinals did in round one with Helsley. When it was still a 1-run game and they came out because his finger started to hurt after he imploded. They let him throw for 5 more minutes on the mound, and then they were like, "Nah, he's not good." And then they got to bring in a guy, and he could throw. Like, come on, dude! Like,
it's actually, it's just unfortunate. But Zack Wheeler gets beat like that. That it just puts a bad taste in your mouth because
sure. And you have an off day today too.
It was just that inning. It was just that inning, and that inning kind of.
I will say this though. We're talking about momentum and how it changed the series kind of with that loss. The off day today hurts for us because now we have to sit with that for a second. I think it helps the Phillies because it doesn't allow them to unravel in 17 hours, right? Like it doesn't allow the Braves to carry that momentum straight into the next game. They got to fly to Philly. Then I think it helps the Phillies that this day
fly home, to settle in their own bed, hug their wives, hug their kids,
discuss things a little longer, look at things a little longer.
Let their day off could be had at their own home and stuff like that. I think that's a fair point. But the biggest question, because I mean, I know we could talk about Nola, we could talk about Game 3, we could talk about you going to Game 3, but the bigger issue to me with that loss last night, wasting that opportunity, it means that we have to, no doubt about it, have a Game 4.
Yeah.
And the question is, who pitches?
It's a fair, but I think we all should have realized that coming into the series.
I know.
Like Phil, we're worried about the 5-game series. What the hell are we going to do when we play the Dodgers in the NLCS if we advance, or the Padres, and have to play a 7-game series? Like it's only going to get more difficult. More guys are going to have to start to throw, and we're going to have to learn to trust them a little bit until they completely implode on the mound. But Game 4, listen, if it's me, I'm throwing Bailey Falter.
Okay.
What would Rangers' rest be at that point? Ranger just threw on Wednesday. Yeah, there's no shot what Rangers throwing on Saturday.
Yeah,
you're talking Thursday, Friday.
It's Friday, Saturday, so he'd be throwing on Saturday.
Right. Bro, Ranger just threw on Wednesday.
Yes, he'd only have 3. It would be on 4 days. after his last
Not really. It'd more be like 2.5, 3 days total by the time the game comes around and when he was pulled on Wednesday. So he's not throwing. Knowles obviously is throwing tomorrow. Wheeler, you're trying to save for Friday, and he can't throw regardless. I'm throwing Bailey Falter. I am not throwing Kyle Gibson. Noah Syndergaard has a little 1-inning kind of thing. I get the experience. I don't trust him enough, man. I do not trust the command. I do not trust
I'm going with it. I'm probably going to go Noah. I'm going to agree with Drew here, man. In my opinion, it's kind of got to be Noah. He's got the playoff experience.
I'm going with the hotter hand, the entire second half of the season.
When was the last time Bailey Falter even threw a baseball, though?
When was the last time Noah Syndergaard started a game?
I don't know.
Months.
But he pitched last night. He pitched okay.
He pitched a 1-inning relief in when they were losing 3-0.
Okay.
Bailey Falter started a game a week and a half ago.
Bailey Falter's 12. Barely has any Major League Baseball experience.
I'm telling you, and you would never. I used to mock having to throw Bailey Falter and Christopher Cantu. I trust Bailey Falter at this point of the season. I don't care if he has no experience, more than I trust Noah Syndergaard's experience from 7 years ago with his 92-mile-an-hour fastball and his lack of command. I don't trust it. Against this Braves lineup, I do not do it.
You traded
No, you did not. You traded for him to start at the back end of a rotation in the regular season.
Okay. All right.
Bottom line.
Excuse me. So here's the better.
And hold on. Time out. Can I throw one more point in?
Yeah.
You traded for Brandon Marsh. You're playing him every other day because of situations.
He should be playing every day, though. Does a win or a loss on Friday night affect who you want out there in Game 4? If they win and we're up 2-1, sure, I'm okay with throwing Bailey Falter out there, giving him a shot. But if we lose, I might go Ranger Suarez on short rest for 2 or 3 innings, and then
I'll tell you what,
Noah Syndergaard for 2 or 3 innings.
I'll tell you what, Drew and Phil, I'm okay. What? No, Rangers control sucked for one game, and Rangers
he pitched two shutout games against the Braves.
Yeah, Rangers control, and I called Rangers control out yesterday, but his control is on the moon, and Noah Syndergaard is down here on planet Earth with us. I'll meet you guys halfway. If Game 4 is a must win, and I don't really trust either or, I'll meet you halfway, and I'll start Thor or Bailey. I'll throw them 3, see how they're going, and then I'll bring the other in. I'll let him throw 3 and try to double up on.
That's what I'm getting at. If the game is on, the season is on the line, I'm starting Ranger or Noah over Bailey Falter. If we're up 2-1, sure, let's see what the kid's got, because he's going to be the number 5 starter on this team next year, in my mind, no doubt about it.
Probably, yeah. Well, Gibson's gone. Noah's probably gone.
Yeah, Gibson's gone. Gibson, Noah, and Eflin are all free agents.
Yeah.
So they're all gone, basically. Ranger, Nolan, Wheeler will be at the top end. And, something I did say after Game 1, or maybe I said it last night after, with the situation, the fact that the Phillies lack starting pitching depth, that I would pass on Trey Turner this offseason. And the money you would spend on Trey Turner, go out and get the best pitcher that's available, whether in a trade or on the free agent market. I don't know who it is, but I'm spending as much money as I possibly can on starting pitching.
Yeah, so in theory, I agree with you, and it depends. It depends who the pitcher is. I don't know if you've been seeing what Trey Turner is doing in the postseason.
He's phenomenal.
Oh, he's about 6 or 7 with 2 home runs, and
that's it.
yeah, in 2 games.
That's it.
Yeah. So
look, I love Trey Turner. I do. But
I agree with you. But it depends who the pitcher is.
The whole conversation here is now that we lost 1 game with Zack Wheeler, and it also goes back to the whole, in a 5-game series, it magnifies. Not if we lose last night and it's a 7-game series, it's not quite as magnified. But in a 5-game series, losing the game that your best pitcher pitches in magnifies the issue that we completely lack. I could deal with the offensive woes. We know this team's going to go up and go down and go up and go down. We're down right now. We know that. One little spark could light it and get it back going. But if we had better starting pitching, if we had someone else to go in Game 4 or Game 5, we wouldn't be quite as concerned right now. And that's the problem for me.
I feel you, but it all depends who the pitcher is. I'm not passing up if there's even an opportunity to get Trey Turner. I'm not passing up Trey Turner, who helps you not only at the top end, who could be your leadoff hitter going forward, who is a steady bat, who helps you tremendously in the field, who's going to steal 30, 40 bases a year for you. I'm not passing that up for a third or fourth starter. I'll pass that up if I can grab like 2 number 2s, 2 and a 3, or another number 1 to go with Wheeler and Nola and have a ridiculous top 3-year rotation. I ain't passing Trey Turner up for a number 3 by itself. I ain't doing it.
Okay. Well, no, I'm not saying for a number 3. I want a number 1 starter.
Okay.
To pair with Wheeler and Nola.
Then another
ace. If you could get somebody, now somebody said Justin Verlander. I don't want Justin Verlander. He's going to be 40. I'm not spending big money. We don't need another PJ Tucker in this city.
Yeah.
We've already got one older guy that we're overpaying, way too late into his career. But I don't even know who the free agent pitchers are. I vaguely remember looking at not being a huge market, a lot of big names, but there's always guys that could get traded. We saw how many big names got traded at the deadline, but that's all season. I'm not worried about it. I'm just bringing up the point that we really, and I talked about this countless times in the offseason, get pitchers. We didn't want to come into the season with Gibby and Zach Eflin again. And I told everybody that's going to be a problem. And I said it again. I said Ranger Suarez had 11 career starts. He wasn't going to be able to go 250 innings this year without wearing out at the end of the season. He's wearing out at the end of the season. That's where the control issues are coming. So the lack of starting pitching is really kicking us in the ass right now. Really, really kicking us in the ass. Well, that's why Jose Quintana would have been a better pickup at the trade deadline than Noah Syndergaard.
It is, but we're just playing a hypothetical out of fear.
Yeah.
Now Rangers in the longer term plan. We're sitting here talking about Game 4. We have no idea what ends up happening. Now, I agree with you. In reality, it's not looking pretty, but like I said, you're realistically not going to have Noah Syndergaard or Bailey Falter against Max Fried or Kyle Wright. You're going to have them against an older, beat-up Charlie Morton or an injured Spencer Strider who isn't going to throw more than 4 or 5. So we'll see how it plays out.
Have they said whether Max Fried will go on short rest on Game 4? Like, we're saying we don't want Ranger Suarez going on short rest. I mean, the Braves are just going game by game right now, which is crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would have no issue throwing Max Fried on short rest if we were up 2-1 and the season was on the line. Now, if they're up 2-1 and the season's not on the line, they may not start Max Fried in that situation, which then gives us – so you might have Strider and Morton Game 4 and 5.
It's crazy to me that they're the team that's going game by game when they were the team waiting for us and had the extra rest and the time
had
to
it
wait.
all laid out by this point. I guess, goes to show that starting pitching depth, maybe it doesn't matter as much because it's not mattering that much to the Braves right now.
Yeah.
Look, we'll get into Game 5 or Game 4 a little bit more tomorrow and our predictions and stuff like that. But if your confidence level was, say, a 7 or an 8 after Game 1, where is your confidence level now? How much has it come down, or has it come down at all after Game 1 or Game 2?
It's obviously knocked down a little bit because a loss is going to do that, and it's going to hit you where the sun don't shine. But I'll say a 6. If I was at a 7 or 8, I'll say a 6. I'll drop down 1 notch. But I still believe that the Phillies have a 50-50 shot to win the series, if not a little better. They do have home field now. I did see a stat before we went on. So the Phillies won 8 games against Atlanta in the regular season. 5 of the 8 were at home at Citizens Bank Park. Okay. So they obviously play better against them at home. You do have the pitching advantage tomorrow night with Aaron Nola. The last 3 starts for Aaron Nola have each been the biggest start of his career. You got the clincher, you got the round 1 wild card to close it out, and now you have Game 3, the first playoff game. It's so fitting that he's the guy, right? That it lined up this way, right? That he's the guy at home.
I know you were younger in the 07, 08 seasons and stuff like that. And I know the age is different between Nola and Cole Hamels, but I'm getting that Cole Hamels vibe from Aaron Nola. The homegrown kid that, we brought in, big names back then. We brought in Zack Wheeler now. But Aaron Nola feels like this is his pitching staff and his team. And that Cole Hamels in 07, 08 came up big so many times in the clutch moments. Yeah, he didn't throw the Roy Halladay, no hitter in the playoffs. He didn't throw like 8 shutout, 12 strikeout games like Cliff Lee. But when the lights were the brightest, Cole Hamels was at his best. And I kind of get that similar vibe from Aaron Nola.
Especially since they cracked through, right? Especially since they cracked through that September collapse thing. And that's kind of in the past now. He can
And that
just
was the
look
same way with
ahead.
the Phillies. The Phillies were collapsing in 05 and 06. They were right there on the cusp multiple times. Couldn't get across the hump. And then in 07 they did, and that's when Cole Hamels started to shine and became the dominant Cole Hamels that he was. So I kind of and Cole Hamels' career and Aaron Nola's career kind of mimic, because Aaron Nola's had some Cy Young candidate years, which sneakily this year's numbers are really
Or
good.
close, yeah.
Yeah, much better than people realize. But he's also had some bad clunkers, Aaron Nola. Cole Hamels had some dominant seasons, and then he had some seasons that followed up with like upper 4 ERAs.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of up and down in his career too. So there's a lot of similarities in my opinion. I will say this. My confidence, like you, has just come down a notch. But I know what all this numbers say. I know what all the stats say. But if we do not win game 3, the series is over in game 4.
Yeah.
If we win game 3, yeah, we still might lose game 5 in Atlanta. I don't know. But if we cannot win on Friday night, this series is over in 4 games, and the Braves celebrate on our home field. That's just if they could take out our 2 best pitchers, their confidence will be so high that I will have zero confidence going forward with this team.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's tough to disagree, man. The stage is set, and I really can't. What do we have? Just over 24 hours till I'm down there. I can't wait. I can't wait to see.
You're getting down there as soon as the parking lot.
When do the gates the gates open? What, 5 hours before?
I think in a regular season it's like 3 or 4 hours before. Maybe playoffs about 5 hours, 6 hours. Yeah.
I just want to see.
Go down to FDR Park or something like that.
Yeah. I just want to see what it looks like. Like, am I going to get Eagles, not to that level, but semi Eagles level tailgate vibes because of how
I remember when I went to the first.
It's a Friday too, dude. It's not like it's a Tuesday.
I don't remember what day of the week the 07, the first home game against the Rockies was. I mean, we had the home game 1. Cole Hamels started it, and I was at that game, and we lost that game, unfortunately. But I remember getting down there like 7, 8 hours early for that game. And it was party. It was party central, man. It was party central. So you're going to have a blast with that. All right. Real quick, got to take a quick pause here in the action for one quick second. Today's show is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of their 2 great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft and it shows, rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. Multiple award-winning barbers and be able to handle any style of cut, adult or kid. Here's a look at some of the great work that they do. We are back here trending in the AM on DSM Media. Again, if you're watching this show live, drop your comments, Facebook or YouTube. That's the only place you can interact. If you're on Twitter, head over to one of those other 2 sites so I can see your questions, comments, and concerns. Also, make sure you do the like and the subscribe on YouTube. We'd greatly appreciate that. Freddie chiming in during the commercial break there. Put them away. No way we take – oh, that was the wrong one. He said they got to win both home games. Any other way, it's a loss. I agree with you, Freddie. Absolutely agree with you there. But now it's time to switch because we're talking about, wasted opportunities. And in my opinion, this weekend could be a wasted opportunity if the Eagles don't take care of business against the hated Cowboys. On a side note, Jason Peters doing everything he can on social media with the media trying to show his allegiance to his new Cowboys team, dropping comments about how he hates the Philly fans. You didn't say anything like that when you were here. You were beloved by them here. Now you're now you're enemy #1.
He was talking about how the Cowboys and their fan bases were cockroaches when he was here.
Absolutely. But yeah. So anyway,
anything for the paycheck, Phil. Anything for the paycheck.
Anything for the paycheck. You got to keep the fans happy in the city you're playing. But I think you mentioned it yesterday, or maybe you mentioned it off the air. But you mentioned that this week is almost like a must-win type game because you're going into the bye week. The difference between being 6-0 and 5-1 when that one loss is entering the bye week against the Dallas Cowboys puts so much onus on this game on Sunday night. There's a lot of national media hyping up this Cowboys team, and we started talking about it a little bit yesterday about how they, haven't really they've beaten less people than the Eagles have, record-wise, statistically speaking, wherever those teams ranked in the NFL. But I want to really focus on if they lose, I don't care how big, close, whatever. If the Eagles lose this game, is it a wasted opportunity? Because winning this game, going 6-0, knocking your next closest person in the division, the Cowboys, down to 4-2. It's an opportunity to put distance between you and the rest of the division. It's also an opportunity for you to get some of that respect you can't get on your name.
Yeah, you use the word respect. I'm going to say the phrase. It's an opportunity to set the tone of this division, to let everybody know whose division it is. Because, again, I can't do it, man. I told you this yesterday, and I listened to more ESPN and podcasts and social media. Stop it with the Cooper Rush nonsense. If the Eagles are going to lose this game, it's because the Cowboys front seven dominate and they're able to run the football. The Eagles need to do everything they can to stack the box and make Cooper Rush try to beat you and limit Jalen Hurts getting hit and doing what you want to do offensively. But it is an opportunity to set the tone, because like you said, not only in division standings and rankings where you'd be 6-0 into the bye, and now you have 2 games with the tiebreaker so far in the division over those teams. Everyone's hyping up this Cowboys team like when Dak comes back, they're going to be Super Bowl contenders again. And like I said, that it's so funny how the narrative can switch, right? Because before, after week 1, the gap to certain people was Eagles here, Cowboys here. Now they have it like this, and if the Cowboys win, they're going to pass the Eagles. And in Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts' track record just through last year, I know they didn't play the second game because they had the playoffs locked up, but the Cowboys are 2-0 against Nick Sirianni. I'm pretty sure over the last 2 seasons, the Cowboys have beat up on the Eagles pretty good. So it is time to set the tone, to take some of that momentum back from Cowboys in the back and forth series here. And they need to get the job done, man, because
absolutely
that 2-week break is going to be horrible.
A lot of comments, Drew, specifically, talking about how the Cowboys defense hasn't played any good offense.
They haven't,
and it's true, and it's so true. But the offense does not scare me. It doesn't concern me one bit. We have one of the best defenses. Look, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, don't scare me. Not with this. We're one of the best run defenses in football. To me, the whole game centers around that Dallas front seven, and whether our offensive line is healthy enough to stop them. And I pulled up yesterday's injury report from the first walkthrough, Wednesday's walkthrough, and there was only one player that did not participate in practice. Some of them were in limited fashion, but a limited fashion on Wednesday normally means limited or out Thursday, and then full walkthrough on Friday, and you're good. If you're not going to play, or if there's a chance you're not going to play on Sunday, you're not practicing on Wednesday at all, let alone a limited fashion. The only guy that did not practice yesterday was Josh Jobe, the cornerback. Dickerson and Mailata and Sayamalu
and
all were limited participants. Maddox, limited participant. Patrick Johnson, limited. Kelsey, even Jason Kelsey, who looked like he died on the field last week, practiced limitedly on Wednesday. So to me, that's telling me that these guys are going to be healthy enough to suit up on Sunday. I think it was Les Bowen tweeted out yesterday that he pulled Jordan Mailata aside, and Jordan Mailata said his shoulder feels fine, feels 100% better than it did. That's an off the record kind of just I'm good to go, fist bump kind of thing. To me, that tells me Jordan Mailata go. And the reason, we all know the names, but they've got 20 sacks through 5 games. Micah Parsons has 6. Dorrance Armstrong 4. DeMarcus Lawrence still with 3 sacks. He's still going strong. Dante Fowler Jr., I forgot he was even on the Cowboys, has 2 sacks. And then they got a whole bunch of other guys with a sack. This team has some elite pass rushers. And in my opinion, even when this offensive line has been healthy this year, they've started to show some kinks in they haven't been as crisp as they have in the past.
Yeah.
So not only do we need to be healthy, but Jeff Stoutland and Nick Sirianni have to devise some kind of protection, whether it's Jack Stoll out there for more plays, whether, you throw a second running back there. Something has to happen because we don't need Jalen Hurts running for his life this week.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because, yes, it is going to come down to the health of this offensive line. And it's not just Jordan Mailata on the left side. Landon Dickerson has been phenomenal at left guard as well. So he needs to be healthy and out there too. Lane, we know the numbers, hasn't given up a sack, and I forget how many snaps and starts. So he'll mostly be lined up with Micah Parsons. So that'll be a fun battle to watch. But this more so comes down to Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen and this offensive game plan and moving the pocket and getting Jalen out of the pocket and being able to get creative within this scheme this week, because just dropping him back and trusting, even if we think they're the best offensive line in football, the best offensive line in football can be demoralized at times with a heavy pass rush. So you can't just drop him back, and expect to win this game. They're going to have to establish the run as well. How do you eliminate a pass rush? Establish the run game. So this cannot just be, I'm going to take my best and I'm going to beat your best. I know we would love to do it. I know we would love to drop Jalen back and not have him touch more than once or twice this game. It would be amazing. It's not the way to success this week. Establish the run, move the pocket, slide protections, but it comes down to him as well. He has to be able to diagnose stuff pre-snap. He hasn't been able to do that. Arizona and Detroit sticks out to me because they were showing you, Phil. They weren't showing you and then dropping back and then showing you and coming. They were showing you 7 in the box, 2 on the edge, and coming right after you. And he did nothing. He didn't slide a tight end, a running back, change a play. No, he stuck to the script. Boom. Off script, has to get out of the pocket.
And I'm really surprised about when you have somebody like Jeff Stoutland as your offensive line coach, one of the greatest of all time. In my opinion, I don't know if offensive line coaches have ever been inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But if there isn't, he should be the first one ever inducted into the Hall of Fame. Just give him his gold jacket. I mean, what he's done with Jordan Mailata alone, is enough for me to put him in the Hall of Fame. Anyway, that, notwithstanding, the fact that he's there, and he could probably see this, how he did not get in Nick Sirianni's ear to make those changes.
That's true.
Look, I've seen Nick Sirianni go to the run game when necessary, but we've also seen Nick Sirianni be very stubborn with his play calling game plan. If he says he wants to pass, he wants to pass, even if he's not the one calling the plays. We've seen that in the past. But we haven't seen is the lack of adjustments on the personnel. And that is what concerned me last week, is that he didn't make those changes in the personnel. When you got someone like Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson and then Jeff Stoutland, those guys are not afraid to voice what's going on the field, on the sideline. I'm super, super surprised adjustments weren't made on that blocking front there last week.
Well, that's why it has to be a point of emphasis this week. Like, what are you doing all week? You're watching Dallas's film. You're watching your own film. You're watching your own mistakes, right? If we know this, damn well they know what their issues are and what their weaknesses are, right? So it has to be a point of emphasis to do these little things, man. And I know we want to come out and we're always like, oh, first play of the game, take a shot, catch them on their heels, blah, blah. To me, I'm coming out and I'm sticking my hand in the ground with this offensive line, and I'm trying to run the ball down Dallas's throat on the first possession. Now, if it's 1st and 10 and I run the ball and I lose a yard, I'm not saying to come out in the shot. Here's another thing I'll throw out there. I think Jalen is limited in what he can do under center, meaning he clearly does not play well under the center, hence why they're always in the gun and he's a mobile quarterback. I get that. It limits what you can do in the run game. I know the RPO is a lot of fun and it's a lot of misdirection and he's a threat. If he could line up under center with an extra tight end with this offensive line, they would really be able to run the ball down some of these teams' throats. I wish they could throw that in there. I think it's a weakness of his.
So I'm going to get to that. I had brought something up here. You can run against the Cowboys. I don't know where they rank across the league, but they've given up almost 600 rushing yards through 5 weeks.
Okay.
The Eagles are well below that.
Yeah.
They don't give up a lot of points, but they played some really bad offenses. But all these bad offenses have successfully been able to, on a per game average, it's almost 120 yards a game that they're giving up rushing defense wise. But yet you got a defense in the passing game where they give up less than 200 yards passing a game. He's only got 2 interceptions on the year, but you still got Trayvon Diggs back there, who's a ball hawk. That if Jalen Hurts is off target, is going to jump those routes.
By the way, I'm exploiting the shit out of it.
110%. I wanted to get to that. I don't know how, but some form of a play action, double move. You got Devontae Smith and you got A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's got to get involved. Let A.J. Brown expose that young kid.
I'll tell you exactly. This is just a thought that I have, and I was questioning with Scotty, like, why weren't they doing it last week? They ran that Devontae Smith wide receiver screen 99 times last week, and
That's
not
it.
once,
My numbers show 101. Sorry, my bad.
not once did they think fake it and take a shot down the field the opposite direction.
Yeah.
If I start to implement that screen game early on, and I have the screen going to the right, and I have A.J. Brown lined up one-on-one with Trayvon Diggs on the opposite side, or vice versa, if I stack them together and I show screen and then have whatever, I'm finding a way to get him on a double move or to get him to try to bite and go for that pick six. You know he wants it so bad.
It's so easy. He'll bite on it. We saw like practice squad tight ends getting him to bite in training camp. He'll bite every time
because he wants the number, man. He wants the ball, and I get it, and it's exciting when it happens. Don't get me wrong, but he also allows a ton of yards.
I mean, Bradbury's got a pick six. You don't see him jumping routes and worried about that kind of stuff this year. He's worried.
Bradbury has many interceptions as Trayvon Diggs does.
Absolutely,
Slay does too in one game.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean that is one of my concerns right there. But I still say you got to run the ball, but you got to get A.J. Brown involved as well. I know we want to run the ball with this offensive line and this defensive front seven of the Cowboys. But you got to find a way to get.
You know what I'm doing with A.J. Brown? I'm not worried about it because we all had. We came on here after week one. Well, Devontae Smith didn't have a single catch, and it was the A.J. Brown show. And last week, all the screens went to Devontae, and A.J. only had 3 catches. Now, trust me, I did not like the usage of going 12 personnel and having him off the field 3 plays in a row. That's asinine. But if I'm them with this Cowboys pass rush, I am going back to my game plan from week 1 against Detroit. And I'm getting A.J. Brown not so much down the field, intermediate kind of stuff. I'm getting him with screens. I'm getting him with slants, quick outs, stuff like that. I'm getting the ball in his hands, and I'm letting him be a hassle to bring down for these corners. You think Trayvon Diggs wants to have to bring down A.J. Brown all game long? No, he doesn't. So keep throwing his way if he's on A.J. Brown.
Is this a concern to you at all? That it seems like, I mean, I think there was one game where the ball was spread around pretty heavily from Jalen Hurts. But if you think about game 1, all A.J. Brown. Game 5, all Devontae Smith. It seems like, at least to my casual eye, that Jalen Hurts and Shane Steichen, they focus in on one guy every game. And you see games with Pascal with 0 catches. Quez Watkins 0 targets. Dallas Goedert gets his, but that's about it. Like there's a very limited window.
Yeah, it's almost like throughout the week they try to find the mismatch. Like okay, Devontae's the mismatch on CB2 this week, and they try to just go.
A good defensive coordinator will pick that up and make the adjustments. You know what I mean? So far we have.
Why do you think the screen started to get eaten up every time when they kept running?
Absolutely, somebody made the adjustment. So that to me is the problem. It's that they have this game plan to zone in on one matchup,
right?
And then they don't get away from.
Well, that's the big thing we're looking at in Gannon and Sirianni, right? It's a question mark last year, and obviously things have been running smoothly this year. But it's not the game plan. It's not what you come into the game doing. It's their lack of ability last year to adjust to adjustments. So they come in with their game plan, and it's like Doc Rivers, right? Like. It's my way, and this is what we're doing, and this is the rotation, and this is the set. You have to be able to adjust, and I think Nick showed it the second half of last year. Gannon's starting to show it the first 5 weeks of this year, but this is a very important game to have that character trait of if Dallas is coming out and taking away this or taking away, and that's what you wanted to establish, you have to pivot. And you have to find B and C and D, and if A is not there, and we'll see if they can because Dan Quinn's done a hell of a job so far.
All I'm gonna say is that if we lose to a Cooper Rush team, that's on us. It's not on the Cowboys. I mean, he's averaging 167 yards passing a game in his 5 games.
He completed 10 passes last week.
Do you know the Cowboys? And this is counting their 1 fumble recovery for a touchdown. The Cowboys have 8 total touchdowns as a team this year. That is 7 offensive touchdowns only. That's 5 games into the season. That's less than 1.5 touchdowns a game that they are averaging.
The Cowboys should
That's not
not score. The Cowboys should not score more than 14 points on Sunday night.
If they do, even if
I'll
we
give
win,
you-
we win 21-17. That's almost a failure in my book because you've given up more points than you should to this team.
Yeah, it depends. Like, and another thing, when we
I'm
talk about
being
it,
a little sarcastic with that, but
no, I know we talk about it every week. The turnover battle, and luckily for us, the Eagles kind of flipped the switch this year in terms of turning teams over. Something we didn't see a lot of last year, but it's very important to, even if you don't win the turnover battle, if it's 0-0, I'm cool with. Like, do not give this offense, do not give Cooper Rush a short field. And field position is incredibly important as well. Do not get pinned inside your own 10 and have to punt from the goal line and give him the ball at midfield or the 45, because all it takes is 2 first downs, get into a little bit of a rhythm, and they can get the running. Make them go the length of the field. They've proven they have not really been able
run the
to do
ball
it.
well either. Ezekiel Elliott averaging 61 yards a game, 3.8 yards a carry. Tony Pollard less than 50 yards a game. He's averaging 5.6 a carry, but that's it. Their best running back was Dak Prescott, and he's not even playing anymore. Look, I got another question for you, and we'll wrap this Eagles-Cowboys talk up with this here. Eagles-Cowboy week, it's always a rivalry. The cockroaches always come out of the woodwork this week. First off, I do have the one that annoyed me yesterday, but do you think because the Phillies are in this playoff run that some of the Eagles-Cowboys luster has kind of taken a, like, I'm hyped. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited for Sunday Night Football. Don't get me wrong. But I'm kind of not, like, itching. Like, I can't wait. Like, I'm not just thinking Eagles-Cowboys all day. This Phillies thing kind of has taken some of the, just goes to show how much, Red October can take over a town.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm the same way. Like right now on Thursday, the Phillies have my priority right now, because I know I don't have the Eagles for at least 3 more days. The Phillies season could be over by then. If not, I know the Phillies game is going to be over by the time the Eagles play. But it does take away from the
maybe it'll be over.
Take over from the nostalgia of the week. It's Dallas week. We had the same thing last year, right? Like, heading into that Dallas week, it didn't feel like Dallas week the last 2 years because we sucked. Yeah. Like, and then I remember 2 years ago during the COVID year, we had when Wentz was falling apart and Ben DiNucci was on the other side of the field. Like, we haven't had a meaningful, and then like last year at the end of the year, both teams already made the playoffs. We didn't start our starters. Like, we haven't had a meaningful Dallas week in so long. We fight, like, this is as big as it gets. This is primetime football.
What's annoying to me is if we win and Dallas loses, Dallas will just use the Cooper Rush excuse.
I don't care. They can use whatever they want. I don't care.
That'll be game 2 between the Eagles-Cowboys. That'll be the narrative that pisses me off. So yesterday, I follow
game 2 when we're resting our starters and they have to try to make the playoffs.
We're 15-1 at that point.
Yeah,
exactly. So yesterday, I see a lot of the Dallas podcasters, the Cowboys podcasters out there, what they're tweeting and all. So the one that annoyed the living hell out of me yesterday, I don't know if you saw it. Everybody, Cowboys fan-wise, was jumping all over the Osa. I don't even know how to say his last name.
Jordan Davis.
Yeah, Osa versus Jordan Davis. That hit their guy is having a 10 times better season than Jordan Davis. And let's just say, proves how stupid Cowboys fans are. Because Jordan Davis has only once played more than 40% of the snaps in a game, and Osa's playing like 75, 80, 85% of snaps, and he's only got like 2 more tackles than this guy. 1 more tackle for a loss, I think, than this guy. It just shows it's my annoying thing.
Well, it shows a lack of intelligence for the sport. It should, like, if you pay attention, whether you hate the Eagles or love the Eagles, you have to understand who and what Jordan Davis is as a player and why they selected him 14th. He's not going to have sack numbers. He's not going to be getting after the quarterback, right? He is a large human being who's going to eat up the middle of the field and have all that gravity towards him and take up so much attention, and he's dominant in the run game. So the stats and numbers are never going to be a major piece of who Jordan Davis is in his NFL career.
I mean, I hate PFF numbers and rankings, except for when they help my argument.
I think he's 12th or something, right?
He's 13th in the entire league of defensive tackles with a minimum of 100 snaps. He's barely got 100 snaps, but he's 13th. I don't even know where Osa is. He's probably not even in the top 30 or 40 on that list. But Jordan Davis is the 13th best defensive tackle in football in a limited playing. amount of time playing.
Well, it just shows, like it's the other side of the field. It's the other side of the thing too, right? Like, don't get me wrong, Micah Parsons is potentially the defensive player of the year. Like, I'm not discrediting what he's a freak,
No.
dude. He's a game changer. If you want to compare stats, like Hassan Reddick's stats and Micah Parsons' stats are like this. Like, you have a great pass rusher, we have a great pass rusher, but they don't get like it makes no sense to me. Like, one's defensive player of the year and the other is a bum. I don't know.
All right. Real quick, we got 5 minutes left in the show. I had planned on ending this show, and we can end this show with 2 quick
Oh,
segments.
by the way, real quick to 30, since this is trending in the AM and it's Philly sports, the Sixers released Charles Bassey this morning.
Ooh, that's breaking news right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, honestly. They had too many guys, and with Harrell and
Reed.
Paul, there was not really a spot on the roster for Bassey. So
At least it's one less name we have to hear Sixers fans clamor for when.
Oh, when are we going to see Charles Bassey?
I'd really like to see Charles Bassey get some run tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, good information there. All right, so I wanted to end with one topic, but we have 2 topics to end in 4 minutes now. Is this the last time Carson Wentz is a QB1 for an NFL football team tonight? Going up against the Bears, awful Thursday night football game. And if he doesn't perform well tonight, there's plenty of talk in Washington. They get the long weekend because they're playing on Thursday night to get Tyler Heineke in there, or even Sam Howell, the rookie. There's a chance. I mean, he won't retire after he gets benched, but he'll be a backup somewhere for a little while. But this might be the last time you see QB1 Carson Wentz on an NFL roster.
It could be if they lose and how badly they lose tonight and the fashion they lose against a bad Chicago Bears team.
Absolutely.
Problem is Carson somewhat to blame? Yeah. Is Carson the problem in Washington? F no. Like, he's just not. Like, their defense and their head coach who threw him under the bus is a defensive-minded head coach, and they're 27th or 28th in defense in the National Football League. They can't run the ball whatsoever, and Carson's 4th in passing in the entire NFL. Like, he's been fine. He hasn't turned the ball over too much. The numbers are like
moments.
Yeah, the yards are there, the touchdowns are there, the deep ball's still there, the completion percentage is there. He's not the main problem, but his track record says that
somebody's got to fall on the sword.
Yeah.
If you're not going to fire Daniel Snyder, because that's the next topic. If you're not going to fire Riverboat Ron Rivera, they're calling him Paddle Boat Ron Rivera now in Washington. If you're not going to fire him with the long extended break, which is a possibility as well, you kind of got to think that they're gonna move on from Carson at this point, because on top of that, I mean, the draft pick compensation in the trade is affected by how much he plays.
Yeah. Well, by the way, like, I know Chase Young's still missing, but do you remember when this defense was going to be like a top 10 unit last year and this year? Yeah. And now they're with that head coach, they're 27th or 28th in total defense this year. They're horrifying. So maybe listen, man, I said early on last week, looking ahead to this matchup, I kind of like Washington to win it. I'm not so sure. Like, if there's a defense Justin Fields might be able to throw the ball against, it might be this Washington Commanders team.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And it's in Chicago. The home team on Thursday Night Football has a drastic advantage normally. So there's a very good chance that Washington is 1-5 after this week and Chicago's 3-3.
It's funny.
The biggest problem in Washington isn't the quarterback. It isn't the coach. It's their owner, Daniel Snyder. And if you guys haven't checked it out, go to ESPN.com. They got a massive article. And there are tweets going around that Daniel Snyder is going to drop some bombshells today. Now, I did message my guys over at Ref the District at the beginning of the show. I'm like, yo, is any of this true? Is anything going to come out today? And they did get right back to me. And they said no. They don't think he's going to release anything. He's probably going to do a press conference or a statement and say
a bunch of nothing.
It's a bunch of nonsense what that article is. But we know Daniel Snyder's a snake in the grass. Daniel Snyder is only in the NFL as an owner still because what this article says is accurate. He's got dirt on everybody. He's got those naked pictures with the girls. He's got, I don't know what. He's got bank statements.
Probably a lot worse stuff than that, Phil.
He's probably got enough information that could bring the whole entire NFL to a screeching halt, in my opinion. And I wouldn't doubt that if he has tried to be pushed out as owner of the Washington Commanders, that he would release all this stuff then. He's going to dangle that carrot in front of the bunny as long as he can.
Well, if that's the case, he'll continue. If he actually has dirt on the owners and Roger Goodell and the higher ups in the National Football League, he will continue to be involved in the NFL. If he is relieved of his duties and he's forced out, then I'm going to say that I'm calling BS on whatever he thinks he has, because I'm telling you right now, the owners and Goodell, whatever it is, and I can totally see it, man. I listen, it's the NFL. We normally don't think about these things, but there's a major sport league that you think has a lot of cover up and dirt and just crazy shit going on in the background with these billionaire old white owners and Roger Goodell. It's the one to believe, right?
Absolutely. I absolutely believe there's something to this
there's
story.
Some conspiracy theory that might be true here.
Dude, it's like a 15-20 minute read to get through the whole entire article. It takes some time. And there's a lot to digest in it. But, man, Daniel Snyder, the Commanders lose tonight, and then the rest of the NFL, it's the last game in NFL history because Daniel Snyder, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I watch too much TV. I could just see Daniel Snyder coming out after the game, dropping this bombshell when the NFL has to cancel Week 6 because there's so much going on. Owners dropping out. Roger Goodell fired.
Not only did the 76ers release Charles Bassey, they've waived Isaiah Joe as well.
Wow. I'm not surprised. Well, I'm not surprised he's not on the roster, but I really thought they would use him in a package to trade, even if it was for a second round draft pick, like package him and somebody else and get some kind of future asset and stuff like that.
Well, come hang out with me on the Faithful Fanatic show at 5 p.m. today, guys, here on DSM Media, because Sixers beat writer Kai Carlin will be joining me, and I'll ask him about these two releases and get ready for the Tuesday opener against the Celtics.
Tuesday opener. Basketball season is right around the corner.
It's crazy.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, but guess what? The Flyers play a meaningful.
I know. I want to be excited. I want to have some sort of energy behind this game.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
I got not a single positive thing to say about this organization right now.
Not at all. They literally will get 30 seconds of airtime this entire season. Guaranteed. All right, we're going to wrap up Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. Again, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube, but also turn the notifications on because like Dylan said, he's got Kai Carlin coming on at 5 o'clock tonight. If you have the notifications on, you will not miss it when we go live. That's the best way to interact with the show. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, at Bearded Knowledge. Dylan Davis is sitting next to me at DylanJD98. I think I got Mark Moscatelli joining me tomorrow morning. I don't know. If not, Dylan will be there. Maybe Dylan will still be there anyway. I don't know. Anyway, Dylan's got to sleep and get some rest for tailgating tomorrow. He might already at 8:30 a.m. be in the parking lot.
Yeah, I'll join the show from.
He'll join the show from the parking lot tomorrow morning. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Everybody have a great Thursday and
ring the bell.
I guess it's still ring the bell, baby, right?
For sure.
And Philadelphia has it. Holding gets around in front.